Hi everyone, it's Mark here and I'm back with a new update on our tiny farmhouse. If you've seen the previous episode, you probably already know what's coming. Yeah, we're back at it, continuing to build walls. I already had the first 2 rows of bricks laid, so it was time to raise those corners again and then fill in the gaps later on. First thing first, time to get those tools ready for work. I always start by preparing the glue, and then you only need a few simple hand tools to get going. Something to cut and shape the bricks, a good hammer, and a reliable spirit level. Preferably a big one too. Usually, I manage to get a couple of rows done each day I spend on the land. It really depends on how focused I am. And of course, the weather plays a big role too. I always spend extra time on the corners to make sure they are perfectly precise. If your corners aren't exactly vertical, by the time you've built 11 rows, things just won't line up right. Luckily, the weather was great this time, so I made a good progress. It's pretty much the same routine for every row. Not exactly the most exciting part, but this is how walls are built. I get the corners done, pull the string line and fill in the gaps. Then I make sure the glue is just right and the bricks are clean enough to make my mom proud. Now one challenge every single time I'm out there is food. There is a small restaurant about 10 minutes away, which we love a lot, but once I'm working, it just feels like a waste of time to drive out, eat and lose an hour or more. So to save time, I usually bring food with me. After setting up my little temporary kitchen, I've got everything I need for a proper lunch. This time, I found a Hungarian shop in Warsaw and brought some handmade goodies. Oh man, that was so good! Taking a break, enjoying some good food, and just sitting there with a nice view and a podcast, that's one of my favorite parts of working on the land. Here is a quick but super useful tip. Pretty basic, but not everyone thinks about it. You don't just stack the bricks right on top of each other, you have to offset them so they overlap and lock together. That's what makes the wall strong, and that's exactly how it should be done. When we were checking out different plots of lands and old farmhouses to buy, we came across some really interesting building ideas. I still remember one place. It was lovely, we absolutely loved it. But unfortunately, the wall wasn't built properly. So we skipped on that offer. Later that afternoon, a car pulled up in front of my land and the guy walked in. I had a feeling I knew who he was, and I was right. He was one of the guys from the electricity company, there to check the measurements and see where we wanted the electrical box. At first, he said they would place it at the closest point to the existing main box on our land, which wasn't great news for us. That would leave us with around 50 meters of cable to reach the house. That means extra cost for us. So I've tried to explain what would work better for our setup, and thankfully he was really helpful and said if the main company approves it, they can make it happen. Fingers crossed. Once he left, I got right back to work. Another small but important detail. Before applying the glue, always brush off the dust from the bricks. When you cut the bricks, you get lots of dust, and if you don't clean it, the glue won't stick properly. Before I even started building, I couldn't decide whether to go with SOLBET blocks or traditional bricks. The regular bricks were cheaper, but after checking all the information, I went with the SOLBET. They've got better thermal insulation and the building process is faster and easier. Plus, since our house isn't that big, even though SOLBET was a bit pricier, it was totally worth it. After I moved to the front of the house and built the wall up to 4 rows, I stopped there. The reason I didn't go any higher was because after the fourth row I needed to measure the gaps for the windows, and honestly I just didn't feel like doing that day. After finishing the first 4 rows on the front wall, I moved to the back to work around the main door. There was a lot of measuring and cutting involved to get the right fit. I've said before that cutting brick is easy and fun, but honestly I realized it's not one of my favorite jobs at all. When it comes to the door, I'm going to add 5 cm of insulation on each side, so I didn't worry too much about cutting the bricks perfectly. There will be a good layer of glue anyway, so I can fix it later on. Most of the bricks were in great shape, but I did find about 10-15 that were cracked or a bit damaged. I used those for smaller cats anyways, so not a big deal. Some even looked ready to crumble, but when I tested them, just dropped them onto the concrete, they didn't even crack. Tough little bricks. The last piece fit perfectly, and that wrapped up the day. The next morning, I went to the store to pick up some U-blocks, which I used above the windows. Each window needs to have a reinforced concrete lintel, and with these blocks you don't need to build a wooden frame. You just place the rebar inside and fill it with concrete. Normally, I'd have these delivered to the land, but it was a long weekend in Poland and the supplier couldn't bring them out. I wasn't sure how fast I'd be progressing, and I didn't want to stop just because I ran out of materials. So I decided to grab a few myself and deliver them to the land. Let's just say the car wasn't too happy about it, but eventually we made it back safely. I wasn't really planning to work that day, but the weather was too nice to waste, so we decided to lay a few more bricks before the sun went down. Managed to get a couple of more rows done, a good end to a busy day. Reaching the fourth row felt amazing. It is especially exciting because you can really see the progress day by day. It just kept getting more and more rewarding. Watching this video, it might look all easy and fun, but sometimes these bricks weighed around 20 kg and I had to move all of them. The process was definitely challenging, but I had a vision in my head that kept me going every single day. I can tell you, those weeks built a bit of discipline for sure. Thank you very much for sticking around. If you have any questions or ideas, drop them in the comment below. And if you want to join our journey, consider subscribing. Most importantly, if you have similar plans or dreams, just take that first step, it's worth it. Thanks for watching. Mark is out. Peace.